He moves through the city like a ghost, invisible amid the sea of hurried faces and flashing lights. Everywhere he looks, people are talking, laughing, sharing moments, but none of it touches him. The honking cars, the chatter in cafes, the constant rush of the subway all feels like a soundtrack to his isolation rather than life itself. Surrounded by millions, he feels completely alone, as if the city's energy only highlights the emptiness inside him. Each day begins the same way, with the alarm clock piercing the silence of his small apartment, a space that feels both safe and suffocating. He dresses, grabs a coffee, and steps into the crowded streets, where he is just another face in the crowd. People brush past him, absorbed in their own worlds, while he moves along the same path he has walked for years, unnoticed and unacknowledged. Even at work, in a cubicle full of colleagues, laughter and conversations swirl around him like a barrier he cannot cross. At lunch, he sits alone, scrolling through his phone, watching pictures of friends and families enjoying life together. A pang of longing hits him each time he sees moments he cannot share. He tries to engage in small talk, but the words falter, awkward and hollow, fading into the background of the office buzz. The city is alive, vibrant, and unending. Yet every step he takes reminds him of how invisible and disconnected he truly feels. As night falls, he finds himself wandering streets bathed in neon lights, the crowd still moving, but somehow less daunting in the quiet of dusk. The reflections of street lamps in puddles seem to mirror his own loneliness, each shimmering light a reminder of connections he wishes he had. He wonders how it is possible to be so close to so many people and yet feel such profound emptiness. This is the city's paradox. Life everywhere, yet intimacy nowhere, leaving him to navigate a world teeming with strangers, searching for a single spark of connection. He wakes up to the piercing sound of his alarm, the same tune that has greeted him every morning for years. His apartment is quiet, too quiet, filled only with the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the clock. He dresses mechanically, grabs his worn-out bag, and steps into the streets, instantly swallowed by the throng of people rushing to work. Faces blur past him, strangers brushing shoulders, everyone focused on their own world, while he moves unnoticed among them. At the office, his cubicle feels like a cage. Laughter and chatter swirl around him as colleagues share lunch and jokes. But he sits silently at his desk, scrolling through his phone. Pictures of gatherings, outings, and celebrations flood his screen, each one a reminder of the connection he craves but cannot grasp. Even when someone greets him, it feels perfunctory, like a gesture without meaning. He eats alone, drinks coffee alone, and counts the hours until he can retreat back to his empty apartment. Commuting home, he rides the subway, packed tightly with people who barely acknowledge one another. Their conversations and laughter form a background noise that emphasizes his solitude rather than distracts from it. Even in a city teeming with life, he feels frozen in a bubble of loneliness, invisible and disconnected. Determined to break free from his isolation, he tries reaching out. He chats with a neighbor in the elevator, offering a polite smile, but the conversation dies awkwardly. He joins an online group, hoping to find like-minded people, but messages go unanswered or conversations feel superficial. Every attempt to connect feels like hitting a wall, reinforcing the thought that real connection may be impossible in a city so vast and impersonal. At work, he makes small efforts to join colleagues for lunch, but he feels like an outsider, his laughter forced, his words hesitant. In cafes, he attempts casual conversation with baristas or fellow patrons, but exchanges are brief and transactional. Even attending local events and meets leaves him feeling out of place, swallowed by the crowd rather than embraced by it. Yet, despite repeated setbacks, he does not give up. He begins to observe the city differently, noticing moments of small interaction. A smile exchanged, a door held open, a brief greeting. These minor gestures, fleeting as they are, hint at the possibility of connection, whispering that the city may not be entirely indifferent. Each day, he takes another step forward, hoping that eventually someone will notice him beyond the surface. At night, he wanders the city streets, now quieter, bathed in the glow of neon lights and street lamps reflecting in puddles. The hum of life persists, but the pace slows, giving him room to think. Memories surface, childhood friends, family gatherings, laughter once shared. A soft ache spreads through him, a mixture of nostalgia and longing for connections that shaped him but now feel distant. He begins documenting the city through his journal and camera, capturing small stories. An elderly man feeding pigeons, a child chasing bubbles, a couple sharing a laugh on a bench. In these moments, he discovers an unexpected solace, a way to engage with the world without demanding recognition. Art becomes his bridge, allowing him to express the emotions he cannot voice aloud. In solitude, he reflects on himself, realizing that loneliness is not merely the absence of people, but the absence of meaningful engagement. He starts to embrace his own company, learning patience and self-awareness. Walking under the dim glow of streetlights, he feels a quiet transformation within, a subtle shift from despair to introspection, preparing him for the small sparks of hope that may come. One morning, a barista greets him by name, remembering his usual order. A neighbor waves cheerfully as he steps out of the building. Small, seemingly insignificant gestures, yet they pierce the veil of his isolation. For the first time, he senses that the city's crowd may hold moments of human warmth if one knows where to look. He begins reciprocating these gestures, smiling at strangers, offering help when possible, initiating small conversations. Slowly, interactions become more frequent, more genuine. He notices a regular commuter giving him a nod, a fellow office worker asking for his opinion on a project. Each encounter, however brief, chips away at his sense of invisibility. In the evenings, he sits on a rooftop or park bench, watching life go on around him, but now with a different perspective. The city feels less like a wall and more like a living network, where even fleeting connections can matter. He smiles faintly, feeling a warmth that has long been absent. The man realizes that loneliness is not permanent. It can be eased by noticing, giving, and receiving the smallest gestures of human kindness. He understands that even in a crowded city, meaningful connections can exist, however subtle they may be. Each day becomes a little lighter, each smile a small victory against isolation. Surrounded by millions, he is no longer invisible. He has found glimpses of belonging, one connection at a time. As night falls, he sits quietly on a rooftop, watching the city lights flicker like tiny beacons of life. The streets below are still busy, but the crowd no longer feels intimidating, feels alive, full of possibilities. He realizes that loneliness is not about being alone, but about feeling unseen, and that even the smallest gestures of connection can make a difference. A gentle smile from a stranger, a kind word, or a shared moment can slowly turn isolation into belonging. He takes a deep breath, feeling a warmth he hasn't felt in years. The city, once a maze of indifference, now feels like a place where he can find small sparks of connection. Each step forward, each effort to reach out, has begun to change his world. Surrounded by millions, he finally understands that even in a crowded city, no one has to feel completely alone. If this one moved you and meant something to you, stay with subscribe for stories that change the way you see life.